Welcome back to AM Northwest. You know, Oregon is known as the Beaver State. It's a nickname that started back when the rodents' pelts were prized for coats and hats. While beavers are no longer a staple of the economy, they still play a major role in our environment. Here to share more, we welcome the author of Beaverland, Leila. Good to have you with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Why write about beavers?
Oh my gosh, well, why not write about beavers? I mean, I discovered beavers by accident, but once I did, I really wanted to share with readers everything I learned about them.
Yeah.
I mean, they're this amazing animal, but really the main thing I was really wanted to share with readers was this incredible new role they have to play, helping us face climate change. They can help us face all the problems we are dealing with: drought, wildfire, flooding, biodiversity, because they bring water. And we need stories of hope and resilience.
Right, oh, for sure.
I mean, the news is full of dire stories of climate change, and beavers are an incredible aspect of nature-based restoration that people can participate in wherever they live.
You live in Connecticut,
yeah.
And did you get interested in them because you saw them around your home?
Well, literally, I was taking a walk in the woods one day and saw them building a dam by accident. In fact, my dog saw them first, and that was it. I said, this is incredible. I have to learn about beavers. And I would soon discover that beavers have fascinated people since the time of Pliny, that they literally made America, our first economies.
Right.
But not just that, the continent, because they bring water. And now they have this new role to play helping us face climate change. So, for example, wildfire, which is a big issue out here in Oregon, especially since 2020. So because they bring so much water into the river system, they build their ponds, and I can talk about that if you want, how they do that. So they'll come to the stream system and they'll build a dam and swell the water. And that's just the beginning, that visible basin of water. Because underneath a beaver pond is 3 times as much water held in the soil, in an invisible sponge, as you will. That's the water you can't see. So that invisible sponge of water, imagine that all along the river system is a large amount of water that's there. If there's a wildfire, it's like a speed bump for the wildfire.
It kind of slows it down. Yeah.
Definitely. And in California, they now have a beaver working group that's working to bring beavers back into the watersheds.
I think the video we were just showing was from Idaho.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Here we go. Let's take a look at this picture. Tell me about this picture.
So this is the Sharp wildfire. So after this wildfire, researchers discovered that there was this green area. And what was it? This is where beavers were. So the the beaver wetland had created a refuge for wildlife. And in fact, in the mega wildfires, it creates refuge not just for wildlife, but for firefighters. So it's critical. It's a critical speed bump. It's time. So, you know, wet wood doesn't burn. That's the beginning.
Absolutely. You visited Astoria to do some of your research. Tell me about that.
Yeah, well, that was really fun. I mean, I love Oregon. I was, you know, tracking down the early fur trapping history, and John Jacob Astor, America's first multimillionaire, of course, got his start trading beaver pelts, and he came west to try to found a multi-million-dollar global trading empire, founded Astoria, named after himself, on the coast. This beautiful, beautiful town now. Of course, we over-extracted the beavers, and they were gone. But lucky for us, they are the greatest conservation comeback story we have. So in the 1900s, people worked very hard to bring beaver back. And now, particularly in the east, we have a lot of beaver. And out here in the west, people are working hard to bring them back.
Yeah, absolutely. You also talked, too, about some characters. And there was one woman in there who, there's a picture of her, and she's sitting at a table with a beaver. But that was her fascination, right? That was her thing?
Well, she's an early citizen scientist, Dorothy Richards. So in the 50s and 60s, she was studying beavers. She founded the first beaver sanctuary in the southern Adirondacks. But, you know, there have been many people who have been studying beavers, and now the movement has really grown. I mean, I think it used to be called the Beaver Believer movement. I think it's really moved.
Sounds like we're talking about our sports team, but I won't ask you about sports.
I know,
so it's okay. No worries there.
I think it's safe to say the name came from from Oregon, from the
Okay.
sports team, the Beaver Believers.
Yeah.
But it's really moved, I would say, from the fringe to the mainstream, because here in Oregon, you can be very proud.
Right.
In July, the governor signed a bill to remove beavers from the predator list. So now the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife can keep track of beavers, and they're being used and harnessed for nature-based restoration projects. And you know, wherever you have beavers, you have carbon sequestration, you have salmon recovery projects, you have better fire resiliency. They're called ecosystem engineers for a reason,
Yeah.
and a keystone species for a reason. The value they bring to the larger ecology and to us as we face climate change now
Right.
is just so valuable, and people are waking up to that.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, exciting, because beavers need a rebrand. Let's face it, right?
Yeah, makes sense.
Well, we thought of them as pelts
Right.
and then as pests,
Pests, yeah.
for far too long.
Yeah, and they're actually adorable.
I spent 6 years writing this book, so I'm pretty passionate
Yeah,
about beavers.
yes, you are. The book again is called Beaverland. Leila Phelps, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
You bet. All right, we'll be right back with more AM Northwest. Don't go away.